Hey there, I'm Megan, I'm an ENFJ, and I'm going to tell you my honest opinion of an ISFJ. So, if you are new to my channel, I've been doing this series of how I view each of the personality types, and I'm almost done. I only have ISFJ and ISTJ left to go, and it's no surprise I have left these guys for last. Is that I don't really know what to say. Because introverted sensing is something that I don't really quite understand myself. And so, just a quick disclaimer, I don't speak for all ENFJs, I'm just speaking from my own experience here. And especially, like as I just said, introverted sensing is the function that I don't personally understand the most compared to other functions. So I might be a little harsh here, but it's just because I don't quite understand introverted sensing, so it's going to be coming from my perspective of how I view ISFJs. So, just to be completely honest, the ISFJs that I've known, that I've been friends with, have been awesome. But whenever I personally think of what an ISFJ is, I don't necessarily think of those friends. I think of ISFJs in general. And when I'm thinking of ISFJs in general, I think of people that are pretty boring and kind of sheep-like and just don't share their opinions about things or their feelings and just sort of do whatever they're expected. But I know that that is a total stereotype and that's not always true, but the ISFJs that do display those qualities, I probably would not get along with very well. But I did have an ISFJ roommate for freshman and sophomore year of college who was really, really awesome. And she just did her own thing. She was honestly reminded me a lot of my sister. My sister's an ESFJ. But what I admired about her was how she was able to just be super regimented with her studying and always make sure that she was doing a little bit each day, and like she never had to cram for a test or anything like that. And she was very regimented in that way, and she allowed herself to have time to have fun and to also get work done, and she had a pretty good balance for things like that. And also I appreciated her FE just because she was really easy to talk to and stuff, and she would like always like ask about my day and I would ask about her day. I'll tell you this though, that the SFJs in general that I like and the ones that I get along with are the ones that have kind of an edge to them. And the ones that don't want to show that edge, I might not get along with. But I will tell you that ESFJs and ISFJs, they can be pretty bitchy, and they can have some really like cunning opinions about people and criticisms, because you have to remember that underneath they are like a baby NTP inside, because SFJs have the same functions as an NTP. And my ISFJ friend from college was like this, where like she would be like, oh my gosh, this person did this one thing. What's wrong with them? Like, that's kind of weird. And like, I appreciate when ISFJs do that, because it's not gossipy to me. It just sort of shows that they have a backbone, I guess. And my friend too, she would sort of give people shit and was just very funny, and would sort of criticize everyone and joke with them. I think she was probably a type 1 in the Enneagram. But she would just sort of give people shit and like point out the stupidity in things, and I thought that was pretty funny and pretty awesome. And when they're so like matter of fact, you know. One time, that one friend and I spent all night doing BuzzFeed quizzes, and she was really into it. Like, she would have them on her phone and then like ask me and then like a couple of our other friends. This was kind of before they got big and like everywhere. Like, it was sort of like, oh, did you know that this site had all these quizzes on it? This was like probably like 4 years ago or something. So I mean, like, not that it was like, I don't know, it wasn't as basic then as it was now. I know it sounds incredibly basic, but she would like ask very seriously, like, which of these animals would you pick? And then like everyone around would like guess or whatever. I don't know, like, I just think that ISFJs, when they're cool and they like show their like NE, they could be just like really funny and like really like badass bitches. Honestly, all FJs are like this, including myself, where like they're either like total weak sauce or they're like badass bitches that you don't want to mess with. And yeah, I guess it just really depends on how an ISFJ uses their feelings to see if we're going to get along. Because I appreciate, I mean, as a fellow FJ, I appreciate when people tell it like it is, aren't afraid to be themselves, express themselves, and to some of you that might not be FJs that are watching this and might not understand extroverted feeling, I understand that it might look like NFJs and SFJs can be sort of gossipy, but I find that to us it's sort of like laughing at the stupidity of the human race and the world, and we sort of include ourselves in it. And I've found that the ways that I relate with ISFJs and with ESFJs is whenever they're like kind of making fun of someone, and I know that sounds like mean or whatever, but I don't like to laugh at people, but I will laugh with people like all the time. Like, the way I was raised, people were always giving me shit, and I had to learn to take it, and I like when other people can take it as well. Don't dish what you can't take, you know, like, yeah. I wish I had like an example. But I just think of ISFJs as sort of like in a monotone voice, like pointing out like something that is stupid about something that someone just did, or about the way that the system is, and it being something that I totally didn't even notice. Like, this is probably a really bad excuse of an example, but like, let's say we were like in class and the teacher asked us to do something. It would be the ISFJ that would like whisper to me or like to their friend and be like, how are we supposed to turn this in if the link doesn't work online or something? Like, I don't even, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you can read my mind. But the point is that ISFJs, they will be able to point out these sort of inconsistencies and like point out like the stupidity in people just very subtly. And I think that makes them very aware of the inconsistencies in themselves and the imperfections in themselves. And that's a heavy cross to bear, you know? And I just really love when SFJs, especially ISFJs, share their opinions, because ISFJs, whenever they have their opinion, you know it's really well thought out, or else they wouldn't have even shared it. And yeah, I wish they would share it more, because I really enjoy them, and it always offers a fresh perspective of something that I didn't think of. But I also just find that in general, ISFJs don't tend to have the same values as me, but whenever they do, that's really awesome. Then we can get along. But if your value is trying to play it safe, then we're not going to get along, because that's like basically the opposite of like who I am. So that's basically my thing with ISFJs, is that I think here's a good way of putting it. They're all very nice, but I think that there is a danger to being too nice, because then you forget to be kind. And when you're nice, you can hide parts of your personality and not be yourself and not express yourself out of fear that people won't like you. And being nice isn't a personality trait. Being nice is almost like a blanket over your personality. Being kind is completely different. So I think that's basically my thoughts on ISFJs. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe if you like it, and have a wonderful evening.